Good morning. The BRICS countries are building a new global financial system, and they're using US dollars as the primary currency for it. They're using our dollars, but they're using their own banks and doing trade directly between themselves. US dollars, our debt instruments, are being used, but all the economic activity and growth accrues to their banks and to their companies. Tether is a primary channel for a lot of this trade. Tether is a cryptocurrency, but unlike Bitcoin or other cryptos, Tether is a digital US dollar. One Tether is equal to one USD, so it's called a stablecoin. Its price is stable, reflecting the US dollar value. That's one thing that makes Tether very attractive to users. The second attractive feature is that Tether is unregulated. It's offshore the United States, and its activities are hidden from governments and regulators. This article is not that old. It's from last year. Tether was then almost as big as the Visa network, and it was making more money than BlackRock, with just a handful of people. Tether was moving $190 billion a day in transactions on $120 billion in assets. So Tether was turning over its assets every 16 hours or so. Compare that to a traditional bank which lends for 5 years on a car or on a new house for over 30 years. Tether is lending out and getting back faster than every day. And Tether undermines the powers of governments to deploy sanctions to cut off access to the US dollar. Dollar transactions involving U.S. regulated banks need to comply with the whims of our policymakers and banking officials, but Tether is different. Naturally, Washington hopes to crack down on it. Tether and USDt are synonymous. They're the same thing. Tether is the third biggest cryptocurrency by value, but it's the most actively traded. Federal prosecutors in New York are trying to find out if it's used in the drug trade, terrorism, or money laundering, but the real objective is to stop sanctions evasion. And we'll link today to some good analysis about how the system works, and you can read through them yourselves. But their conclusions are off because they misunderstand what makes USDt so attractive to so many users, is that our own governments can't do anything about it. Here they say, if Treasury adds Tether to the blocked persons list, it would be devastating. But it's actually the opposite. The fact that American officials and banking regulators don't trust Tether and want to sanction it, that only makes Tether stronger in the new trading blocks. This is a summary from the Covey network, who compares the two leading US dollar stablecoins. Tether is USDT, Circle is USDC. Circle and Tether are competing for global dominance, and Tether has a big lead with almost 70% of stable coins in circulation. Tether has over 42 million users, almost 3 times as many as Circle. This part is right. Tether versus Circle is a case study in market positioning, partnerships, trust, branding, you could say. Tether is decentralized. Circle is playing by the US rules and is growing within the mainstream financial systems. Tether is not playing by those rules. These proposed laws to regulate stablecoins, impose new reserve and reporting requirements, they will help Circle in the mainstream markets, but they will also help Tether in the emerging markets if Tether just simply refuses to comply. The Wall Street Journal analysis here is more recent, and since last year, Tether has only grown in size and popularity in emerging markets outside US jurisdiction. Last year, remember, Tether was used in 69% of transactions. Now it's 80%. Its profits are now $13 billion, more than 2 times the $6.2 billion they earned in 2023. This chart shows the growth of Tether versus Circle. Both are growing fast, but Tether is ripping higher much faster than Circle, which has just recently passed where it was back in 2022. One of those drivers was a change in Federal Reserve policy. When the Fed began raising interest rates, the earnings on Tether's Treasury bills went up 40 times to hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter. Here, the Wall Street Journal swings and misses the same way Bloomberg did. Treasury is concerned about the boom in Tether and could lock Tether out of the U.S. banking system. And that's easier said than done, actually. Anyone, anywhere can buy U.S. Treasury debt, and if they want to hold it offshore, they can. This is a messy problem for Treasury officials, in that the only way to really lock Tether out of the U.S. financial system is to suspend interest and principal payments to Tether Treasury holdings. But that would call into question all the dollar-denominated debt held offshore by everyone, everywhere. Everybody would sell, and Treasury knows it. These efforts here, then, are ways to go right up to that line without crossing it. And they will all help Circle, USDC, probably. Onerous is the head of Circle, and he is petitioning Congress to overhaul stablecoin regulations by requiring issuers to hold their deposits at the Federal Reserve and ban digital dollars issued offshore. Circle is trying to do the same across the world. USDC are pushing Japan, Singapore, Europe, Brazil, and they're trying to get those governments to impose the same stablecoin laws he wants for the United States. The European Union did go along. But here again we see the problem, because Tether does not hold reserves in U.S. banks, and they are issuing stablecoins offshore. So they're already on the wrong side of the rules that the European Union just passed. What happens if Tether also ignores what Circle wants U.S. regulators to do in the United States, and they just keep doing what they're doing now? Here is a report from 3 days ago, where Russia is using crypto to get around Western sanctions in its oil trade with China and India. Russian companies are using Bitcoin, Ether, and Tether to convert Chinese renminbi and Indian currencies to Russian rubles. This news follows reports that Venezuela and Iran are also using crypto and stable coins to avoid using US dollars directly. All these countries love dealing with dollars, but they need a way to use US dollars without using US banks. Crypto is how. It's convenient and helps run everything much faster. This is the procedure. A Chinese buyer of Russian energy pays a middleman in yuan. The agent converts that into crypto, transfers to another account, then to a third, which converts to rubles. Just for one Russian trader dealing with China, it's tens of millions of dollars a month. We are seeing lots of people in lots of places who are strongly motivated to use our dollars but not our banks. And global central banks know that they need to choose whether they want the business that this can bring to their countries. Thailand is saying yes to both. Tether and Circle are acceptable. Hong Kong concludes the same thing. The Hong Kong dollar already has a US dollar peg, which makes it similar to these stable coins. Hong Kong is where China has its giant offshore trading hub, with billions of dollars flowing that way from mainland China to capitalize a new BRICS financial system. And these Hong Kong bankers are looking at Tether the same way that mainland Chinese factories are. Tether stablecoins are a way to do US dollar business with the world, but without going through US banks. The reality is that everybody, everywhere, including China, loves dollars. That's why this huge market cap for Tether exists. It's proven to be highly attractive in emerging markets where lots of people don't have banks at all, especially appealing in Asia and Africa. And stable coins achieve operational efficiencies over traditional banks as well, reducing friction and costs and time, so they will be increasingly used to settle international payments in real time. Traditional banking systems like SWIFT do overnight settlements, sometimes longer. That drives the costs up, and it gives regulators in Western systems time to block transactions. Again, that is all a feature of regulated systems, and by saying no to these restrictions, Tether will take all the business for stablecoins for any party who does not want their stablecoin transactions to face the same risks of freezing or seizure that makes them not want to use our banks in the first place. This is a hotel in the Tengger Desert in Ningxia. Be good.
Remind us daily to lift up our leaders in prayer. political leadership on this earth, the bosses and managers in our companies, the mayors and police in our towns, the governors and kings and presidents